Hi YouTube, it's me, Bianca, and I just wanted to come and tell you guys, all of my subscribers, and you guys that have been keeping up with my enlistment. It's almost been 4 years, so it's what, May, September will be 4 years. You guys have stuck with me since before I even joined the military. I didn't know anything about it, and I just wanted to tell you guys the good news. I got into that nursing, the NECP program, the Nurse Enlisted Commissioning Program. I got into it. So I found out about, I would say, maybe 2 weeks. And I kept wanting to post a video, but I was on leave when I found out. My supervisor called me, and it's funny because he called me while I was at the school in North Carolina that I want to attend, and I was just going to basically put a face with a, application. I basically got into school, but I wanted to go around and look for apartments just in case I got in. And he called me, and I was driving, and he said, the list came out, and I was like, really? He was like, yeah. There's two lists. There's an alternate and a primary, and I was like, okay, supervisor, like, this doesn't sound like it's going in my favor. You don't sound happy. And he said, and you made the primary list. So my name was on the list, and I was super, super, super excited. However, right when I got back from leave, I had to go straight into a 3-day work, 13-hour shift. You guys know I work inpatient in the hospital, so I haven't really had time to make the video, because when I'm working, I'm sleeping, and when I'm working, I'm up, and when I'm not working, I'm sleeping, because I do work the night shift. So I just wanted to tell you guys that, and I do want to thank you guys for all the motivational. You guys say I motivate you, but you don't know how much you keep me going. Like, I am thankful that I am able to help so many people throughout this process. So this journey in the Air Force has been, it's been pretty good. You're going to have your ups and downs, but I did want to tell you guys that I know in my last video I did, say that there's other opportunities for commissioning. As you guys know, like I mentioned in a video before, I came in with a bachelor's degree in communications. Due to me, I guess, just couldn't find a job, or I don't know what I just joined the military. I did ROTC when I was in high school, but I had no plans on doing it in college. I really didn't know. I was really naive, and I was just like, I just want to go and party, and I did, and I passed, and I enlisted. And I told myself that, my senior year, that I wanted to be a nurse in college, but I didn't want to start over. And somehow God, I'm religious, you guys know that, He found a way where I became a med tech. And from a med tech, you are basically a LPN, a CNA. When you're on the floor, you're doing everything a nurse would do except for give medications and do your assessment. And somehow, here I am about to be a nurse. So I go off to school in August. It's now May. I do go off to school in August. So right now I'm just in the process of just waiting. It's just kind of like, okay, hurry up and tell me, okay, hurry up and put your package in, and okay, hurry up and wait, basically. I waited for the results. Now it's hurry up, do this, and now I have to wait for my orders. So I'm going to keep you guys updated throughout this process. I'm going to try my best to post more videos as it goes along. But yeah, now I'm just waiting for orders. I do want to tell you guys that even though it seems like, my career has been like pretty smooth, but it takes hard work. I know a lot of you guys are wondering about CDCs and becoming a rope and doing all this stuff. Honestly, you have to do what you think you can do. And if you don't think you can, be a rope, or, do all this extra stuff, just do it anyway. Because a lot of people like myself, we kind of downplay ourselves. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this because I don't think I'm going to have enough time to study. Or I don't want to volunteer because I don't think I'm going to have time to work and sleep. If you don't get it, somebody else is going to get it. And that's what I did. And it did take good mentors and supervisors to look inside and say, hey, yeah, I think you should do this. And I'm like, I'm tired. Like, and this is when I worked in a clinic. So I now know the definition of being tired, working on the floor. But I was like, no, I'm tired, So it wasn't that I was just, I got to do everything. No, I just knew, I guess maybe with me coming a little bit older, I knew the route. I knew how I wanted to be in the military. I am a go-getter, but I'm also a human. I do get tired. I do get frustrated. However, from coming to Keesler, volunteering. I worked in pediatrics. I volunteered. Got involved with Airmen's Council, AFSA, Air Force Sergeant Association. One BTZ, and then last year I was going to apply for the NECP program. However, just like any good story, it I didn't make it. It wasn't a good story. Last year I didn't. I made my binder. I did everything I needed to do, but the two nursing schools or three nursing schools that I applied to denied me. They put me on a waiting list, and that broke my heart. I was very upset. I just knew last year I was gonna get into this program, but I didn't. And instead of me giving up and just saying, you know what, I'm just gonna get out, I said, okay, well, now I need to study for staff. And I studied and I studied and I made staff. I haven't been on staff. My line number was in the 11,000, so I actually promote in July. I missed the promotion date by 19 people for June. So, I made staff, and then they moved me to a floor, and then I put in my pack, I applied to schools early. I applied to schools early. I did my package over. I didn't do it completely over, but having new leadership, I had to do certain things over. I did what I needed to do, and I got accepted to all three schools. I applied to University of North Carolina, Greensboro. I applied to University of South Florida, and I also applied to University of South Alabama. And by the grace of God, this year I got into all three, which was a blessing. So I actually got the chance to pick, rather than last year I was going to take any school that accepted me, but it just wasn't my time. And I do believe by moving to me from a clinic to the floor, it was God's way of saying, hey, can you hand like, and my leadership too. They're like, you want to be a nurse? We're gonna move you from the clinic where you're kind of just taking vitals and the head scans and head circumferences and cutting warts, to actually taking care of patients with the nurses. Like, you're going to be side by side with the nurses. You're going to be in there when the nurses aren't in there, taking care of patients. And it was times when I got up there, I'm like, oh man, this is tiring. Can I really do this? Like, is this really for me? And then somehow God keeps showing me, like, this is you. This is for you. So yeah, to give you guys a little bit of information about the program. So I'll show you my binder. This is my binder. I know. So this is my binder and I don't want to go all the way through it, but I just want to give you guys like the format of like how I set it up. This is my binder, and you don't have to do all this, but this binder right here is basically, if you guys have been in the military or not, they always say make an I Love Me binder. But the NECP is on my purse, and the knowledge exchange on the portal. If you just Google NECP and you have access to the portal, which if you have a CAT card, you can find out what they need and what they, don't need, or you need, a certain GPA. I believe it had to be like 3.0. The main thing is to get into a school. If a school wants you, then that's a good thing, because then the Air Force is like, okay, well, she got into a school. I think the school had to be less than, it couldn't be more than $15,000, $1,500. No, sorry, $15,000 a year. And the school I'm going to is a yellow ribbon school. So if you're in the military, or you have served in the military, you get that in-state tuition. So Greensboro is perfect for me. It's closer to home. So I'm excited about that. And so you have to have like a 3.0, minimum 3.0. You have to have all your sciences, such as human anatomy, biology, human anatomy 1 and 2, biology, microbiology, Chem 1. Chem 2 is required. However, if your nursing school does not require that you need Chem 2, you just get a waiver, basically a piece of paper that they type up saying Chem 2 isn't needed for acceptance into the school. Get a wet signature, and then they'll email it. The school will email it to you, and that's your waiver. That you send to AFPC saying, hey, I don't need to take Chem 2. I didn't take Chem 2. I hated Chem 1. I'm so glad I didn't have to take Chem 2. My process was a little different when I applied to schools. Seeing that I am a second degree student, I didn't have to take Chem 2, anyway. But a lot of schools, it's like if you don't have a degree, a previous bachelor's degree, they, require you to take Chem 2, human growth and development, anatomy. And I took all those classes just to, make sure that I was good, with any school that I applied to. But you want to start early. Usually you have to submit your package in March. So if you're going to try to apply for this program, you need to start looking at schools and applying to schools and getting a point of contact as soon as possible. For example, I applied to UNC Greensboro. Somehow it just fell in my lap. I wanted to go to the school as a freshman in 2008. However, I would have lost all my in-state tuition scholarship, so I stayed in-state in South Carolina. However, I just Googled the school and I was like, well, let's check it out. I have family in North Carolina and South Carolina. I want to be closer to home for the next 2 years. So I checked it out, and I think I found out that they do, a lot of schools have, it's called a Veterans to BSN program. So for the reserve, active duty, if you get into NECP, um, Army, Navy, if you're a medic or corpsman, anything like that, the government gave these schools a grant to fund, it's like millions of dollars to fund, medics to get credit for your service. So also this, UNC Greensboro, they are a part of that VBSN program. And if I would have got out the military in September, which was what I was thinking about doing to pursue my nursing dream and possibly coming back in, but luckily I didn't have to do that. I was going to go to the school anyway and still get credit for being a medic. So, all the things that we learned, like blood pressure, vitals, everything you learned in tech school, you get credit for that with these schools. And it's called Veterans to BSN, or some people, schools are called VBSN. So if you take a look at that, especially if you are medics and you're interested in nursing, look at those schools. You don't have to go to those schools, but you do get credit for being a medic. I mean, they're writing me, you're like, yeah, you don't have to take that class. You already learned that. So technically you're going to come into the nursing school as a junior. So it's a 2-year program. NECP is a 2-year program. You can't go over 2 years. You go in as a junior to your school, and from that point on, you're just basically a civilian. You're getting E5 pay. So if I would have got into the program last year, I wouldn't have to have needed to study for staff or test for staff, because if you're a senior airman, you automatically get, staff sergeant pay, which is awesome. However, I tested, I made it, so I get to put on in July like normal, and then I get 2 years to be basically a civilian. I'll be a civilian student, still in the military, staff sergeant. However, I'm a civilian, so that's a nice little break, you get from that military life. Your school has to have an ROTC detachment. If it doesn't, you have to go across town. It has to have a cross-town attachment. So, for example, the school I'm going to, they don't have a ROTC, Air Force ROTC detachment, so I have to go to another school that's in the same city, which is awesome. And it's fine. You won't even really be there from my understanding, but you need to be attached to you know, some type of detachment. So you'll do that, and from my understanding, you are in school for 2 years. You still have to do your PT test. I have to take a PT test before I leave Keesler. So, which I already needed to take one in July anyway. So when I leave in July, I'll have to take a PT test. And so I'm still trying to work out, because even though you're in there, you can still get disqualified from this. Knock on wood. You can still get disqualified from this program by failing PT test, failing drug test, anything. So I just want to run and pass my test and go ahead and finish off, this enlistment. So after that, you study for your NCLEX, and you become, you get licensed as an RN. From that point on, the military will send you to a hospital. I think it's like 4. You don't get to pick. It's like a training. You're in is nurse transitioning program, NTP, and you'll be there for 10. I'm sorry, no, you go to COT first. So you graduate from your college, you take the NCLEX, then you go to COT, which is like the officer's basic training. You go to COT, and then from that point on, you go to your NETP program, and it's a 10-week program where you're basically, learning how to be a nurse on the floor. And then from that point on, it's like I think 8 hospitals that you get, that you can kind of choose from, to say where you want to go from that point on. So, I mean, it's going to be, a little ways before I put on lieutenant, but there's a light at the end of this tunnel, and I'm excited about that. I always had, high hopes that, I would do 4 years and then commission. Granted, I'm almost done with my 4 years, and I don't have my bars yet, but I got into a program where I'm going to get those bars, and I'm excited about that. I do think that working on the floor as a med tech has helped me understand nursing better. I do think that. However, and I work on the floor with new nurses that have done NECP, and they'll give advice, or that are just straight out of ROTC, or I work with nurses that have they graduated from from college, and then they worked as civilians, and then they came into the military, so they did a direct commission. So I work with nurses from ROTC to NECP, which is prior enlisted nurses, and then I work with direct commission nurses, and they all have different experiences that they bring to the floor. However, just because you're not a medic does not mean you can't apply to the NECP program. I worked with a nurse last night, and tonight I'm actually going into work tonight as well. And she was a enlisted I think staff sergeant of maybe 5, 6. She was in for like 5 or 6 years, and she was a staff sergeant, and her husband were and they applied, and now they're nurses. So just because you're not in the medical field in the Air Force, or just because you're not a medic, does not mean NECP is not for you. Don't let your job discourage where your goal is. And if your goal is to be a nurse, then be a nurse. So yeah, but I do think if you are a medic, I'm speaking for medics. I'm a medic. Make sure I did clinic for 2.5 years, and then I moved to a floor. Granted, I wasn't the most excited to move to that floor just because I knew it was one of the busiest floors. Like, it is the busiest floor. We get all types of patients, where there's psychiatric, VA. We get everything. Babies sometimes. So I do think if you are a medic and you do work, in a clinic, and it's your time to leave, and you want to do NECP, I would personally say, yes, it's a challenge to move to a medical inpatient floor. Yes, but still take that challenge. As you guys have seen throughout my whole career since I've been talking to y'all, I'm all about taking challenges. Granted, yes, you will get tired. You will want to give up, but hard work always pays off. And I know it's hard to think about that now, because a lot of you guys still have classes you have to take. You're worried about, this, tech school, CDCs, this and that. But you can't eat an apple whole. You have to take bites and bites and bites and bites and bites. You can't just goggle it, whatever the word. You can't just stuff it down your throat. You're gonna choke, and you're gonna get frustrated because you can't eat all the apple. So if you're in tech school right now, you're a medic, focus on tech school. Focus on tech school. Be involved. I know it's tiring. I've been there. I got washed back in tech school. I was a rope. I was stressed out. It was just a lot going on. I got washed back because I think I failed like 3 out of the 4 skills, or 3 out of 7 skills. You medics know what I'm talking about. But that doesn't, just keep going. Okay, I'll get it next time. I'll get it next time. You're not going to be perfect. I definitely am not coming to you guys as perfect Patty. I've had some downfalls in my career, my relationships. And, it happens, but we have to keep pushing. So if you're in tech school right now, well, let's start over. If you're thinking about joining, and you think it's for you, but you're nervous and you're scared and you don't want to leave family, join anyway. If you're in basic, or before you go to basic, look at these videos, my past videos. Look at the place that I was at. If you're relating to that, you will be fine. You will be fine. If you're not relating to that and you're just scared out of your mind, you will be fine. Trust me. Do what you have to do. Keep your head clean. Keep your nose clean. Do what you got to do. Get out of basic. Go to tech school. If you're in tech school, focus on tech school. Don't worry about taking classes. Don't worry about CDCs, because you can't do that in tech school anyway. Focus on passing your job and getting out of tech school alive with your job. If you're at your first duty station, I would say it's not too early to start, just making like a little binder, as far as like with your certificates, print out this NECP stuff, print out the PA, commissioning stuff, because PA is an awesome commissioning program as well. I've had a friend that went to a PA program, and that's awesome, So print out this stuff, keep it, make a vision board, do something, to that nature. Do something like that. Also, write down your goals. I don't have that paper, but I promise you I will come back with another video with the paper, probably right after this. Give me 1 second. Okay, you guys, sorry about that. I really wanted to show you guys the paper that I had. I had a supervisor, excuse me, that told me to write down my goals. And I promise you, when I get that paper, I'm going to show it to you because it's awesome to look back at a piece of paper that you wrote down saying, it said, hey, if I don't make option A, option B, I'm going to do option B. If option B doesn't work out, I'm going to do option C. And I'm looking at this paper and it's like, do this. This was after I made BTZ and all this stuff, but I think it was like make staff, do NECP, commission. And another one said, okay, make staff, get out of the military. If NECP doesn't work out, come back in as a direct officer. And you're looking at this and you're just checking it off. I'm like, whoa. Like, so write down your goals. So if you get to your first duty station, focus on your CDCs. Get to know your supervisors. Get to know your whole chain of command, your leadership, because you may need them. And they are important in your, in your life. In your Air Force life. Print out the PA and the enlisted and, print out all that stuff. Keep it in a folder. So, when you get done with your CDCs, then you can say, hey, well, the Air Force would pay for me to go to school while I'm working. Yeah, if you're working in shift, it may be hard to go to school, but I took advantage of working in a clinic. I took sometimes 3 classes at a time because I'm glad I did, because working on the floor, it is kind of hard to take classes. You are tired, but you can do it. You can do it. So, take classes, mark off, okay, I took A&P, I took human anatomy, I did this, I did that, I did that. Print out this list, and then once you get done with taking your classes, you should start looking at schools. Okay, this school needs this, so I need to take this. It's a process, but you can only take it step by step. So first duty station, be involved. Like I said in my other videos, make goals. Sometimes people make vision boards. Before I even knew I made staff, I put a staff sergeant stripe on my board when I worked in peds. People walk by, oh, did you make it? I'm like, I'm claiming it. And I made it. You claim the things that you want to happen. Claim them. So you guys, I know this video is running over. I did just want to talk to you guys about me making this program and how excited I am. And I thank you guys for just listening to me ramble. And I hope, this will help you guys in the future. I will come back with more videos. I felt like I rambled a lot, but you saw, my binder. And you do have to interview with the chief nurse. So I wanted my binder to be very, very, like, hey, look at me. Like, you had your resumes in there, your certificates, everything. Your everything is in this binder. And I'm going to hold it dearly. And the nurse that helped me, it's been nurses that have helped me, with my essay or, even starting off this process. I looked at a captain's binder when she did NECP, when she was enlisted. She gave me her binder and she said, hey, and so she told me, when you make it, pay it forward. And so I'm paying it forward with you guys, but I'm also paying it forward with, after I made the program, so many people have came up to me and say, hey, can I see your binder? Hey, can you text me your pictures? Can you do this? And I'm like, sure. I'm not getting frustrated because I remember being like that. I wanted to start early, and there's nothing wrong with starting early. That's the key. So you guys take care. If you have any questions, leave them below. If you have any friends that are trying to join the military that have questions about nursing, let me know. Maybe I can, I'm trying to, get better at writing you guys back as soon as you write me, or, I think it's pretty cool to have YouTube, like the app. I thought that was pretty cool. I can just write you right on, while I'm sitting at work or doing whatever when I get a break. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Tell your friends to look at this page if they, want to see the process. This is almost 4 years. You guys have been sticking with me for 4 years. So this is a process, and you have seen it all on my YouTube. So thank you, and have a good night, okay? Bye.